Hi, not everybody knows about knives, and I'd like to share some of my knife info with you. I certainly didn't learn until in my 30s. I'm going to show you some of my knives, how to use the right knife for the right job, and how to pick the right knife for your hand. First of all, it might not seem important now, but it might when you go to buy a knife. There are three parts to a knife. You've got the handle, you've got the blade, and you've got something called the chine. You may say, what the heck is a chine? This is the spot right here where your fingers will fit behind the blade. If it's too small, you can't get a good grip, so you need one that fits your hand. The blade is important because it determines the size of your knife. You'll see very shortly how a long blade can be difficult for me to handle, but ideal for a bigger person. In my case, it's my husband. The one thing most of my knives have in common is that the blade goes right through the handle. This is generally the sign of a good knife. I have inexpensive knives with no blade running through the handle that I also like very much, but they're not well-made knives. Knives come in all prices, and just because it's expensive doesn't mean that it's great, and vice versa. So these are some of the knives that I use in my kitchen. This is the first knife that I bought. I bought this at a really good price. It's a Henkel knife, Henkel blade, and it was assembled in Argentina, so I got a great price on it. It's got a 10-inch blade. You measure the blade from the tip to the chine. My hand fits in here perfectly, but the knife is just so long. It's like even longer than my arm, so this is just too much for me to handle. And it took me a long time to figure that out, what fit on my hand. This is one of my more common knives. As you can see, the blade runs straight through the handle with the rivets here. My fingers fit right behind the chine. This is an 8-inch blade, tip to the chine. That's 8 inches. I love this blade. It's a nice size. I also like this one. This is called a Santoku blade. Santoku is characteristics by these dimples here, and when you cut with a Santoku knife, nothing sticks to it. Now I want to point out the differences between these two knives. This one has a flat blade, whereas this one has a more rounded blade. This is just a matter of preference. I am not sure if Europeans like rounded blades or if Europeans like flat blades. I prefer both of them for whatever job I'm doing. Sometimes if I have a lot of chopping, then I'll go with the rounder blade. This has always been one of my favorite knives, but this is a really cheap knife. This is made by Fiskars. They're the people that make sewing products. So it fits my hand perfectly. It's ergonomic, it's lovely. It's a really super light blade, and I like that. I like the lightness of it, and I like the flexibility of it. But it's not a good blade. It'll get rusty. It's not stainless. I don't know what it's made out of, but it's not a high quality blade. This is a knife that you commonly see in restaurant supply stores. I've seen these kinds of knives in TJ Maxx too for sale with the plastic handles. In restaurants, these knives are supplied by a kitchen supply company. They take them away once a week, and they replace them with sharp knives. What's different about the blade on this and any of these other knives that I have here is this is what's called a hollow ground edge on here. I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not, but a hollow ground edge is something that you find in commercially packaged knives. Hollow ground knives are really difficult to sharpen in your own kitchen. So if you buy a knife with a hollow ground blade, then you have to be prepared to send that out to be sharpened from time to time because it's very difficult to keep that edge on it. This is a knife that was gifted to me. I think it's a work of art. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a great big knife, a little bit too big for my hand, but I think it's absolutely stunning. This is a bread knife. A bread knife has serrated edges. It cannot be sharpened at home, but it has to be sent out to be done by a professional. With any luck, you never have to have it sent out, and it'll keep its blade for a very long time as long as you're not cutting paper or twigs or plastic, just bread. These are paring knives. Again, my blade goes right through the handle. Just inexpensive ones. This is also a paring knife, but it's called a turning knife as well. It has this rounded blade so that you can have a nice round potato if you wanted to have potatoes all one size. Sometimes you see carrots that are cut that are perfectly round too. I keep my knives in a vertical knife storage on my countertop. I don't keep them in my drawers because I like to have them handy right on my counter. I think it's nice to keep your knives held vertically. If you have a special spot in your drawer where they're not banging up against other knives, that's great. If not, maybe you have the knife guard that it came with and you can store it like this. The more your knife is jostled around in your drawer, the more damage it receives, and it just doesn't keep its shape. You don't want to put these in the dishwasher. As soon as you're done using it, if you're finished with it, rinse it under some water, wipe it off, put it away. Okay, that's it for today. I'll post a video sometime this week on how to sharpen knives at home, and I thank you for watching today. Have a great day. My name is Jill.